This is AchieveRadio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/AchieveRadio.
What a beautiful day to be alive. My debt is paid and more money arrives. The fridge is full and there's plenty of ice for a fireside chat with anyone I like. What a beautiful day, good to be here, when almost everyone has disappeared, when almost everyone is waiting in line. It's good to meet you in this world of mine.
Welcome, everybody, live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. I'm Jenny Gunther, also known as Jenny Almighty, and I'm going to be your host tonight along with Dr. Carolyn Dean for the next 2 hours. We are going to be talking about the thing that is probably most paramount to every single person, whether they know it or not, and that's their health. And if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. And I think that's a cliche that got developed by some marketing campaign, but it is true. And tonight we're going to be talking about health the natural way, the way it's supposed to be done, through nutrition, through food, through sunshine, through movement, through exercise, and through the wisdom of Dr. Carolyn Dean, who is the leading guru on natural health and also on using magnesium and minerals and other nutrients to your benefit to reset your body, to restart it, to reposition it, and to realign it into a place of impeccable performance. And I just want to let you know that the more we do and the more I get exposed to the more things about the more things of everything, I have to tell you the more confidence I have and the more pure joy I have in working with Dr. Dean, because she has been at this for a long time. And she has not been tricked by fads or any kind of, fly-by-night kind of thing or goji berries or some kind of crazy superfood. She has been vetted out fully by her wisdom and her own intelligence to know at a cellular level what it takes to run the body. And if you can get it right at a cellular level, you will have it right from the top of your head to the soles of your feet, because we are made of cells first, organ systems, tissues later, but everything starts with that one cell. And that's what she became. That's her target, and that's where she flourishes, and that's where the body flourishes, because she knows how to give the body the basic building blocks. No hokey, gamey, fatty kind of stuff, just the basics of really good living, good nutrition, and good supplementation. So before I bring her on here tonight, I just want to remind everybody that not only is she a brilliant doctor and a naturopath, but she's got so many different things that she's done in her life. Acupuncture, being an herbalist, being an acupuncturist. And also, one thing that she does is she is a very compelling writer. She's an amazing author. She's written tons of books. I don't know if any of you have sat down to even try to put together a paragraph. Dr. Dean's written thousands and thousands of paragraphs in all of her books. And she makes perfect sense to a lot of people. And I hope she's going to make perfect sense to you tonight. And also, let me remind you that she's not going to give you any medical advice, but she might tell you what she would do if it were her, if she were in your situation. And she's got a lot of integrity in that too, because she uses herself as a lab rat all the time, and I mean all the time. So welcome, Dr. Carolyn Dean. Nope, where did it go? Where's my yay button? Okay, there it is. Hey, hello.
Yeah, hello. I just can't speak unless I hear the children ushering me in.
That's exactly right. That's your official cue now. We've kind of made it a thing. But yes, welcome. How are you doing?
Doing great. Perfect timing. Our postage size, our postage stamp size lawn just started to be mowed at 2 o'clock, and it's so tiny. It only took them 6 minutes to finish it. So we have a noise-free environment now. So I am ready to go, and yes, everything's wonderful, and hot on the heels of our, Reset Your Ideal Weight webinar last week, Ginny writes in her blog today that you all got in your email. If you want to read along with me, it's at, where is it, drcarolyndeanlive.com. So the title is Magnesium, Regulating Glucose and Insulin. And Ginny writes, and as she says, she clips some of this from my other writings, but then she'll put her commentary. So the blog reads, over the past several years, there have been many significant studies about magnesium's role in keeping your metabolism running like a well-oiled clock, specifically in terms of insulin sensitivity, glucose regulation, and protection from type 2 diabetes. In a 2013 study, the Journal of Nutrition looked at over 52,000 people with no known history of diabetes to see how magnesium affected blood sugar. What they discovered was simple. A higher intake of magnesium resulted in lower fasting blood sugar and lower fasting insulin levels. Now, of the hundreds of folks who were on the webinar, you know that what we're trying to achieve in a weight loss diet, in the ketogenic diet, is to lower our insulin levels. It's when you eat carbohydrates that pulls out insulin that the insulin, I don't know the exact figures, but it's like half of the blood sugar from the carbohydrates you eat goes into the cells, and the other half gets stored as glycogen in the liver. And what happens when you're not eating, then the mechanisms of the body go to the glycogen stores and push out that glucose, push out the sugar, and your body creates energy from that sugar. It's all about the sugar. It's the easiest thing to process. But the way we lose weight is if you eat less carbs, you don't get your insulin levels elevated, and therefore you don't create these sugar stores. And what does the body do if it doesn't have carbs, doesn't have sugar stores? It starts burning fat. And that's the basis of the ketogenic diet, or you could just say the basis of burning your fat stores, breaking down your fat cells, which then allows you to lose weight. So this blog is very timely about magnesium helping us lower our fasting blood sugar and lower our fasting insulin levels. And that's why in the ketogenic diet and the intermittent fasting, I say keep up with your REMAG, keep up with all your complement formulas, because they will all help the body maintain its digestion, maintain its, in this case, lowering of fasting blood sugar, lowering insulin levels. And some people may say, well, I'm taking REMAG and I still have problems. Well, how much are you taking? It really is a matter of getting yourself saturated, and it is a matter of taking REMAG. And we have every day now, we get people who've finally made the switch from other forms of magnesium, and they will say, yep, you were right. I've been taking other magnesiums for decades, and a week after I started REMAG, I noticed great improvement. So Bob started that actually sometime last year, that I was no longer allowed to say you have a magnesium deficiency, you have a REMAG deficiency. So Ginny continues, this is great news for people who are looking to lose weight or get lean, this business about magnesium helping out. If you're having trouble with that last bit of fat or just getting started with your weight loss, the most important thing you need to know is that low insulin is to your benefit. When your insulin levels go up even a little bit, it dramatically curbs the utilization of fat for fuel. Anything that brings down insulin a little, especially your fasting insulin, as is the case with magnesium, will be a major benefit to you. So even while you sleep, magnesium will help ensure more stable blood sugar, and a better balance of fuel utilization. And then Ginny does mention our webinar, and she's calling it our new program to control weight and help with physical conditions that could lead to diabetes, stroke, and heart disease. And that webinar, Chad's put it up as YouTube. The book, Reset Your Ideal Weight, is available for free. Chad's putting it up at drcarolyndeanlive.com. So it's chock full of information, very readable. We do talk about the products in there. You can learn a lot from it, even if you don't take the products. But seriously, it's very important that people keep up their nutrient intake when they're fasting or when they're on some sort of diet. It just takes the guesswork out of whether or not you are getting your nutrients, because I've created this 5 or 6 product package to cover everything. It'd be interesting for people. We'll have a show one day where we say, take your best shot. Tell me what you think I might be missing in terms of the way the protocol has been designed, and kind of what surreptitiously, synergistically, it just came together. But probably because it's been in my head for all these decades, all the various problems that people will run into and how to work around them. So Ginny finishes up. Dr. Dean's 3-tier approach combines a high-fat, moderate protein, low-carb meal plan with the total body reset and intermittent fasting. This powerful trifecta of strategies creates amazing outcomes for the physical body. The blood sugar lowering and stabilizing effect of magnesium will not only help a person fasting to realize a better long-term balance in their blood sugar, but also more energy when it comes time to be active. The reduced, they're back. Ginny, they're back. Do you hear the noise in the background?
I do. I hear the zzz.
What they're doing now is instead of sweeping off the grass particles that were created by the lawnmower, they have this incredible blower system where, it probably burns out the eardrums of these poor guys using them, but they'll be done in a minute. So the last sentence is, the reduced blood sugar will likely spare your glycogen stores for when you really need them, creating a preference for fat as a source of fuel. And feeding your body fats and moderate proteins versus carbs will improve your body's fat burning capacity as well. Yeah, this is an interesting kind of question. When you say the reduced blood sugar will likely spare your glycogen stores for when you really need them, I do think the glycogen stores have to be all used up before you go to fat burning. But that's a good question to ask Dr. Fung, Dr. Jason Fung, the kidney specialist who really made the ketogenic diet and mostly intermittent fasting a real scientific possibility for us to recommend. So I'll make a note of that for future. Okay, Ginny, I have a few questions about your blog to go over, but is there anything I missed out here?
Nope, I think we're right on track.
Okay, so I have Jason Fung's questions started. Multitasking all the time. The first question, how would Carolyn's program affect a person with type 1 diabetes? Well, what Dr. Fung is saying, and I do make a caveat in the book that I'm not treating diabetes with my little booklet. You can't just do this whole reducing your insulin and going on diets and fasting if you have type 1 diabetes. You really can't, I say you can't do it on your own, and I'm not going to use that book to treat diabetes. But we do know, even before the intermittent fasting ketogenic diet, that people with type 1 diabetes, people on dialysis, have said that using the complement formulas has really, really helped them. So how it can affect a person with diabetes, I'd say it can make the structure and function of your body work so much better. So that's the answer. The next question, I'm a 60-year-old female, 5 foot, 115 pounds, Japanese, living in Boston for 30 years. My primary care doctor cannot figure out why my fasting glucose is high, 89 to 102. I suppose the fasting glucose is around 80. Hemoglobin A1C, that measures what your blood sugars have been doing for a 3-month period. Hemoglobin A1C is also high, 5.8 to 6 for the last 7 years, despite the fact I eat very, very, very clean. Okay, so I think, what you want with a hemoglobin A1C is more like 4.5 or 5. She's 5.8 to 6. So it's, it's over the high normal is what these levels show. But when someone says I eat very, very clean, that doesn't help me. I don't know what that means, because if there's a lot of carbs, that means that the blood sugar is always going to be a little elevated. 115 pounds for 5 foot, well, that's reasonable. I know I'm 5 foot 1 1/4, so I want to be around 107 pounds, 5 foot, presumably using the scale that I use, which is for every 5 feet. In a female, that's 100 pounds. For every inch above 5 feet, you add 5 pounds. So perhaps there's a little bit of weight there to work on, which implies holding on to carbs. She continues, I recently got tested for insulin, came back 4, which is lower than I thought, so that's good. I wake up 2 or 3 times per night since I hit menopause, so that's the stress cortisol, so that may be the few pounds there. And also that can affect the insulin. Now here's something important. I had H. pylori and stomach ulcer in the past twice, so that means she probably took antibiotics, which raises the question of yeast overgrowth. To look into these toxins can affect the body. It can affect the blood sugar to a certain extent. My hair is falling out, so that's the thyroid. So, and I don't know if this individual is on our products. So that would be where you'd start Remite. And she's saying, am I pre-diabetic or insulin resistant? Don't know. 7 years of those figures, maybe, pre-diabetic, but I would just say nutrient depleted. It's like what causes a person to be pre-diabetic or insulin resistant. We know the insulin resistance is a factor of magnesium deficiency. So I'd say rather than giving a disease diagnosis, to say, no, you're nutrient deficient, take the complement formulas, get the body structure and function working perfectly, and then watch your blood levels change. And then she continues, do stress and menopause cause fasting glucose and A1C to be slightly high? And yes, the stress and menopause, again, what I say about that is they create nutrient deficiencies. And then the nutrient deficiencies get misdiagnosed as a disease entity. And that's the only way doctors can deal with people. The mandate for medical doctors is we have to learn the symptoms of disease, diagnose a disease, and give a drug to treat the disease symptoms. So they're always going to be looking for disease because they never learned about nutrients. So those are the two questions I have. Do you have any other questions, Ginny, arising from your blog?
Arising from my blog. No, I think that what is so interesting to me is the whole thing about just the carb confusion that, for so many years we've been told how beneficial carbs are. And, people slowly started to realize that the wheats weren't good and started to eliminate breads and things but they blamed it on gluten, and gluten sensitivity. But this, really shocking situation about how the body really can't use carbohydrates very successfully, and what it really needs to, live off of is the natural fat-burning capacity of the body, and foods that are high in fat and stuff, I just think is amazing. So when you look at what some of these doctors are doing and the research that's coming out, I just think it's incredible, and also how magnesium is so critical to this whole function, because even if you're doing the ketosis and the fasting and stuff, if you don't have magnesium in your body, you're still going to be in a deficit.
Yes, and people are trying to treat everything with diet. If we get Dr. Fung on, I'll tell him, look, people are still magnesium deficient in the midst of your diet, so that has to be addressed. People get cramps on intermittent fasting and keto diet, so let's take some magnesium. And actually, Ginny, you sort of led me into this very interesting email that I had from a customer. She said, I recently listened to Dr. Dean's show about the keto diet. I've been on keto for many months. I recently read the attached article and linked articles, and it gives me cause for concern. I wonder if Dr. Dean could look at it and address the concerns presented by these various practitioners about the keto diet. And it's a website run by, I don't know the person, but it's run by someone called Green Smoothie Girl. So right away, she's into the high carbs, green smoothies, 40 ounces of green drink a day, people that I talk about, and how they're still deficient in magnesium and have magnesium deficiency symptoms. And this is a huge, long article about, pretty much putting down the keto diet and quoting a lot of raw food doctors, and fasting doctors are in there as well, and they give their opinions. And it's like a lot of half-truths or even three-quarter truths, and the other quarter is not true. And I can't possibly go through it all or correct or critique such a long post. I did write back to the person, thanked her for sending it, and there's even another type of diet that I hadn't even known about, carbohydrate and protein cycling along with resistant starch. So now there's a whole diet where they say there are starchy vegetables that resist digestion and therefore don't elevate the blood sugar, and therefore they're supposedly not going to affect your insulin. And of course, in the world of yeast, these starches, because they list them, they're below ground vegetables which have a lot of carbohydrates, and maybe they have a lot of fiber as well. But they're talking about using several hundred grams of these carbohydrates a day, and you can lose weight. To me, it just means another whole list of these starchy foods that you have to figure out whether or not you can eat them. It just becomes, to me, it becomes so detailed and picky that it's just hard to maintain that type of diet. What I've been saying to people about the keto diet is it's very much like our yeast detox diet, except it will be even more strict on the carbohydrates because people are just desperate to get back to their fruit and, have a dessert and all the rest of it. And it may or may not grow their yeast, but it will certainly keep their body using carbohydrates as a fuel source, and it won't get to the fat. And the reason why I enjoy adding fat to my, let's say, adding fat to my yeast-free diet to make it more keto is that it gives me something tasty. If you don't have sugar and lots of fruit and all that, you want something tasty. And think of this. Some berries, and I've been using like 7 strawberries. 7, that's it. And they're a good size. So I chop them up and make them into little bitty pieces of frozen strawberry. And then I put in, maybe a quarter cup of heavy cream, or I'll use full-fat coconut milk, maybe put in a little kefir. I'll vary those things, but try to make it as high fat as possible. And you stir that up, let it melt a little bit, and it's like strawberry ice cream. And it's not a carb that will elevate your insulin or take away your ketone burning. And I love measuring my ketones. It's the first time I've done urine strip testing that I can handle. Before it was, you've got to do your pH, and that was never anything that made enough sense to me to continue. So every morning I do a ketone strip and see that I'm still in ketosis or not, and then I vary my diet during the day. And it is still very important, I think, to do the intermittent fasting if you want to lose the weight. And actually, we had some very good input from a dear friend of RNA Reset, and I'll go to that right now because it's quite relevant. I really enjoyed your webinar yesterday. I know that your modifications to the keto diet and fasting could work for many people. I'm writing you today as an advocate for people who have had guidance from doctors that led them to be uncomfortable with, or those who cannot benefit at all from a high-fat diet. She says, I have had, a duodenal switch. It's a weight loss surgery. And she said, food doesn't stay in my small intestine long enough to digest fat. So that's very difficult for her to do a ketogenic diet. If I eat a fatty meal, all that happens is fat comes out in my feces, et cetera, et cetera. I heard you say something in one of the shows to the effect that you were thinking of changing the Yeast Reset ebook to make it more a keto book. And she said that wouldn't work for her people. And also for people who have had gallbladder surgery and had their gallbladders taken out, where they don't dump enough bile after a fatty meal to digest the fat. So she's saying, personally, as long as I stay consistently faithful to the yeast reduction diet, I lose tons of weight, at least a pound a day. So it is an alternative to keto for those who can't digest fat. So it's brilliant advice. I really appreciate that input. And it's true. The yeast detox diet is a weight loss diet And the carb restriction, if you can stick with the carb restriction, that's fantastic, because that will put you in fat burning while you're on the keto diet. With me, I really need the fat, like I said, to make it easier for me to avoid the sweet carbs. So, Ginny, what do you have to say about all that?
Well, I think it was interesting to hear about the person who had the surgery, because we do have a lot of customers like that. So that's good to know. And also, I was thinking today, because I've kind of been, trying to pay attention a little bit more to this keto business since you brought it into the mix. And the yeast-free diet is pretty keto. I mean, you've got no sugar, no milk, no wheat, no nothing. And you're really, probably the biggest difference is that you can use heavy creams and stuff like that. And you are taking in a lot of, now, do you think that when you're using caprylic acid, which is like coconut oil, wouldn't you think that that's like a fat? Would that count?
Definitely. Yes, you're right. Mm-hmm.
So you're taking in a lot of fat already on the yeast diet, because if you're doing that caprylic acid stuff in the morning, that's a lot of oil, a lot of fat, good fat from coconut and stuff like that. And, so, I mean, I think I can see where they're very similar, so people would have an advantage if they've been doing that.
Mm-hmm. Right, yeah. Perfect word. So we have some choices for people. If you don't want to go on the bacon butter diet, and who knows how long I'll stay on it, but see, now I have a mechanism. I can put myself in ketosis. I can do it intermittent fasting, and I am doing a day a week and sometimes 36 hours. And if I go out and binge and gain a pound or two, then I know I can fast it away. But I'm not going to bounce around like a yo-yo and use the diet in order to go binging. But when the holidays come around, etc., that happens to all of us. We call it the experiment.
Well, these people in the medical community who are using this as an approach for treating disease, like Dr. Fung, and there's a Dr. Dom D'Agostino, apparently, who is really he's at the University of Florida, and he's using the ketogenic diet to treat epilepsy. And there are people who are using this to really, I mean, there are a lot of doctors and clinicians, I shouldn't say a lot, because, the major part of all of the medical world is still swallowed up in the SAD diet. But, I mean, there are a handful who are getting extraordinary results with this approach. Because one thing I never knew is I didn't know insulin is a hormone.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Right? So it's a hormone. So like you say, your hormones are out of whack. And, people can't go very long with their hormones being out of whack, and it would make sense with insulin being a hormone why our products are so effective in regulating insulin, because because of the absorption and the picometer size. They would be able to interact with the insulin hormone, like our mineral support making the thyroid hormone, because at the very basis of what that is, that's all those little biochemical interactions in there doing that business. But these doctors who are really into this as a way of treating hopeless diseases. I mean, when people go to type 2 diabetes, from being pre-diabetic or something, or people who have insulin, and they're looking at it this way, the ketones, I guess, work in the brain, is like they're hinting at, this is also, they're using it for MS and Alzheimer's. These are big implications for health, right?
Right, yes, epilepsy and all. And the thing about the keto diet, I think a lot of people think, oh, this is a diet, should I do it forever? And no, you can move in and out, but just know you have tools at hand. And when you read a lot of kind of anti-keto diet or anti-intermittent fasting, I don't think anybody actually can put down intermittent fasting anymore because there's so much scientific data and research on it. I really think people are accepting of it. It's just getting over the horror that people feel that, oh my gosh, what do you mean I can't eat for a day? But you've got to know that taking your complete formulas, taking your bentonite and psyllium, seriously, I do bentonite and psyllium twice a day when I'm doing my fasting, and I'll have a very nice, very good-sized bowel movement the next day. So my intestines are working. Nothing shuts down. Everything keeps moving. So you are kind of filling up your stomach with something, and you really feel better and lighter, and your stomach flattens out overnight. So the intermittent fasting part, and I didn't really stress that a whole lot in the webinar, but I certainly have it in there and say that it's part of the whole thing. It's one day out of 7 in your dieting, in your approach to weight loss. So,
hey, Carolyn.
Now, let me ask you, Carolyn.
Let me just say something here. You know that old dialectic, nature versus nurture?
Mm-hmm.
You wonder why people go for diets.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the new dialectic is nutrition versus nutrients, because people for thousands of years relied on food, and food was good. And so they think if they have better fruits and vegetables, that archetype, it's got to be good for you. But so that's the nutrition archetype. But what they don't know about is nutrients.
Mm-hmm.
And nutrients are more important than the benefits of dieting today.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, because the nutrients have been farmed out, burnt out, processed out, and people are still told by their doctors that, just eat a good diet. Every time we get a comment from someone about, why am I so sick? I eat pretty clean and healthy. Yeah. Well, you can't. It's over. You cannot eat a healthy diet.
That's the archetype of the chemical body, that good food's been around, agriculture and all that stuff. But we've gone through the virtual process of high tech that's wrecked the standard archetypes. So now you need this new antidote, nutrients. So it's nutrition versus nutrients. And nutrition is the old archetype, which doesn't apply anymore.
Okay, Bob. Good words. You've said it 3 times now. We got it.
I'm looking for a blog on that. Nutrition versus nutrients.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, back to you, Ginny. Thanks, Bob.
The one thing I just also wanted to check, Carolyn, is about this kind of a distinction is the difference between nutritional ketosis and just regular. Because if you fast, don't you automatically go into ketosis?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
It may take 12 hours in the beginning, but now when I fast, I'm in ketosis pretty quickly because my body's kind of used to it, I guess. And again, you're doing your own daily experiment. It can be fun. But yeah, that's
right.
what fasting is putting yourself into ketosis.
Okay, great. So then nutritional ketosis is if you didn't want to do the intermittent fasting and you just wanted to be in ketosis, you would accomplish that by dropping the carbs and adding the fats.
That's correct.
Okay.
It may take longer. It may take longer, and in the beginning, a lot of people really overdo the fats. They get so excited. They'll just pump up the calories and eat a lot of fat, and the body burns that fat, and it never gets around to burning off your fat cells. So you have to be careful there as well.
Right. Okay, very good. Yeah, I know that it's interesting. I mean, I know that there's a lot of different models out there for food. And I applaud, doctors like Dr. Fung and yourself and everybody who do absolutely think that, your basis of your health is what you're putting into your body nutritionally, as far as, the that part of it, metabolically. You know, of course, if you're living in a nuclear landfill, that's a whole nother story. But so I think it's just great that we're bringing this to the forefront and giving people an opportunity to really contemplate this and investigate it, because there is a lot of bad information out there about food. Like you said, eating clean is one, vegan is another, you know, vegetarian's another. I mean, all these kind of things that may still not be getting people where they need to be in their overall biochemistry.
Mm-hmm. Right. Very good.
Okay, excellent. All right, so 602-666-6027 is the number to call if you'd like to talk to Dr. Dean tonight. Again, 602-666-6027. We've got all kinds of wonderful things going on here. Lots of people on the phone. I assume somebody wants to talk to Dr. Dean, so you've got to hit *5 on your keypad. *5 to raise your hand in the studio and let me know you're on and you have a question or comment for Dr. Dean, and then I'll put you on the phone with her. We also have our next Doctor to Doctor segment is coming up in 2 weeks, Carolyn, and so we're excited about that. And you've been doing tons of podcasts lately.
Yeah. Yes, I've been doing more podcasts. I'm trying to reach a younger audience, and the thesis is, why wait until you're 50 to finally find out about magnesium? Why not find out about magnesium in your 20s and 30s? So I'm trying to avoid the burnout of the next generations.
Very good. Excellent. Wonderful. Okay, so let's see. What else do we have to do tonight? So we've got mailbag. On the chat line, we've got a few questions here, and we've got our callers coming in. Again, *5 on the keypad if you've got a question or comment, and I'll put you on the line with Dr. Dean. So let me read you this question, Carolyn, that came in from Marv. Welcome, Dr. Dean and Ginny. I'm taking vitamin C but not getting much benefit. Just started a new one, Medic C Plus from Canada. Would you ask Dr. Dean if she knows about it? Thank you for your response.
Well, what are you trying to achieve with vitamin C? I don't understand the question.
Right. What would the benefit be that you would be able to sense with your body, or, you know, so tell us about that, too. I kind of thought the same thing, but then I thought maybe I was out of the loop on what vitamin C is supposed to do. Would you get energy from it or anything, or would you just, how would you know if it was working?
Not necessarily. Go to supplement recommendations, Dr. Dean supplement recommendations. And I do recommend vitamin C. There's the RDA of vitamin C is in Restructure. I recommend some food-based vitamin C. And you can go to ascorbic acid, which is only one of the 8 of the vitamin C complexes, if you need support for the adrenal glands. Most vitamin C, this Medi-C that you're talking about, I'm looking it up and trying to find a label on it to find out. A lot of these products don't even have labels to know, but it's probably ascorbic acid. And ascorbic acid is not vitamin C. It's not food-based, whole 8 chemicals that make up vitamin C. No, I can't even find out what it's made of. But if it's ascorbic acid, it's not vitamin C. Okay.
Oh, really? Okay, very good. Yeah, send us if you can get a product label, which they don't require on websites in Canada, I don't think. Shoot it to me at support SUPPORT@RNA Reset, and we'll take a look at it for you. But you might already have your answer. We recommend the Grown by Nature vitamin C. Grown by Nature is the superfood that Dr. Dean recommends, and that is on Dr. Dean supplement recommendations, and you can shoot me an email at support for that as well, and I'll be happy to send it to you. Okay, and let's also just go to this phone call, and then we've got a couple more questions. We'll go to the great state of New York, area code 646. 646, you're on the line with Dr. Dean. If you want to give us your name and then state your question or comment.
I didn't hear the number. Is it 646-486?
That's you, love. That's you.
Okay, thank you. Oh, I'm so
we'll
sorry.
Take it out for you. That's all right,
okay.
sweetheart. Go ahead.
What's
and
your
I did
first name, hon? What's your
Marion.
First name?
Marion.
Okay, Marion. What's your question?
I missed your talk so far, so you might have answered it, but it has to do with the problem I have with blood sugar. And I am somewhat on a keto diet. I also take your Complement formula, although I, in August, stopped the RNA drops because I had to start buying more supplements, which became really expensive for me. So I have adrenal dysfunction and so low blood sugar, and I'm not interested. I mean, I don't want to fast because of the problems with low blood sugar, but I do pretty much keep to a keto diet for the last year or so. So one question I have is about eating, because my biggest problem is I need to go to sleep early and sleep through the night. And I'm curious to know what you say about eating just small amount of food late at night, because I've heard it could be one of the problems that wakes me up. And another problem I had, which I had written to Melody about in the summer, is I was getting really bad leg cramps, and I was upping the magnesium that I was taking from you to like 5 teaspoons a day, and I couldn't understand it. But now I'm wondering, because I read on Mercola's site that could be a problem with salt if you're on a keto diet, and I was also told that I'm probably deficient in potassium. So leg cramps are not so bad anymore, but I still have them. So that's another question.
Okay, Marion. Yeah. Okay, so your blood sugar problem is not diabetes, it's low blood sugar. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think because I have adrenal dysfunction, and I'm trying to go to bed earlier so I could get better sleep. I just have low blood sugar, and I need to eat.
Hang on. Okay, hang on. I've got it now. Okay, so what's your weight? Is it in a normal weight?
My weight's good. Yeah, I weigh about 126, and I'm 5'4", so I have a pretty good weight.
Okay, so you don't have to gain weight or lose weight. So the keto diet, I mean, what that does for a person is just makes you feel full and satisfied, which means you can eat your dinner fairly early, and it being high in fat, it can sustain you through the night. The thing about the adrenals, it's interesting, we were just talking about that, Marvin, the vitamin C. For the adrenals, you should look at, where do I put that? Maybe in the Remite book, or you could Google my name and adrenals, or look at Dr. Dean's supplement recommendations, because with the adrenals, you do need 1 to 2, probably about 2 grams or 2,000 milligrams of ascorbic acid every day to help support the adrenals, and the potassium, which you can get in bone broth or potassium broth. You do have to work at your potassium. And if you had leg cramps and the 5 teaspoons of Remag wasn't helping totally, then you do have to look at calcium as well and make sure you're getting your 600 milligrams of calcium in your diet. In terms of sodium, you should be putting the 1/4 teaspoon of unrefined sea salt in each liter of your drinking water. So if you're on the full program, the Remite for your adrenals, the extra vitamin C, all those things over time will help support your hormones, help support the structure and function of the body. Does all that make sense, or what have I left out?
Well, I'm doing all that, except I haven't been taking 2,000 milligrams of C every day. And then the potassium I just learned about, that I need more potassium. So Do you think
have a couple things to work on, and just try to keep it kind of simple like that, Marion. Don't get too distracted about a whole bunch of other supplements. Just try to keep it simple, because it's doing the protocol consistently for long enough to slowly get back into balance. And it's when, people start thinking, well, maybe I'll try this, or, maybe I'm worried about that. But look at the calcium as well. Calcium and magnesium do have to be balanced. So look at your calcium intake, and that's written up in my Re-Calcia booklet, okay?
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And, we have a lot of people, as you probably know from listening to the radio show, who are in the same boat, and it's very frustrating because there is no quick fix, but I'm sure you've been slowly improving, and now you're just trying to fine-tune, okay?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you.
Okay, Marion. Okay, so keep in touch with us, all right?
Yes. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, very good. Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. Excellent, excellent questions. And I did not know that about the 2,000 milligrams of ascorbic acid for the adrenals, Carolyn. There is something that I learn every single time. That's great.
I just get an email out of the blue from someone. My email is out there, so people get to me without going through customer service. And this is important, Ginny. I don't know the age of this person, but and I think it's a female. I got mild bronchopneumonia beginning stages, and my doctor prescribed an antibiotic from the fluoroquinoline group. I think I've read somewhere that you claim that fluoroquinones deplete magnesium. And in the instructions for it says that we shouldn't take magnesium supplements with it. Now, I don't think I knew that. And there are potential side effects such as tendon inflammation and rupture, among other things such as heart rhythm disturbances. Pretty scary. I suppose I should stop using Remag until I stop taking this type of antibiotic.
Oh, God.
Oh, my gosh. I mean, I'll have to look into these drugs and see why they're telling you to stop magnesium, because that is very scary. Because what I say about the fluoride that's put in a lot of drugs to make them stronger is it can bind up magnesium and make it unavailable, but that means you need more magnesium. And with the thought that binding magnesium with fluoride, you'll remove it from your system. Some does go in the tendons, and with magnesium deficiency, it can lead to spasms of the muscles. Without the magnesium, you're going to get spasms, and then spasms of muscles can be strong enough to pull tendons. So we've had enough results with people who say if they take their magnesium straight away, you can take it a few hours away, take a teaspoon a couple hours away from taking your antibiotic, or definitely, I mean, personally, I would get my doctor to switch me to another antibiotic, and I would be increasing the Remag. I wouldn't be stopping it. I think that would be the wrong thing to do. And like I said, I have to find out why they're telling people to stop magnesium with these drugs. That makes no sense. It just doesn't sound right. So that's that. It's a couple minutes to the hour. Do you have any chat questions, Ginny?
Yes, I do. I have one from Super Dougie. Super Dougie in San Diego. Hey, Doug. He says, hi, Dr. Jean and Ginny. Why have I had an increase in my addictive tendencies with the RNA drops?
RNA drops can, emphasize who you are and where you are. It can, what's the word I'm looking for? It can
amplify
where you are. So that's all. You're being amplified. Don't worry about it.
That's
Go on
right.
the keto diet.
It'll slip into something different because so many people actually reverse their tendencies for addictions. I mean, we've had people give up smoking, alcohol, wine, pot, I mean, all kinds of stuff using the drops. So, it's not they use it to do that. It's just that's what happens is they use the RNA drops. It's like, gee, I lost my craving for sugar, everything. So that's just something to consider too. It may be, like Carolyn says, amping you up, and then eventually it'll flip into the opposite, and you'll be free and clear of whatever it is that you think you're addicted to. I'm glad you're addicted to listening to our show. That's an addiction we don't want you to get rid of. All right. Very good, everybody. We're at the top of the hour. We'll be right back with more Dr. Dean and more callers and more mailbag and more fun stuff and more good information. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
We'll be back with Hour 2 of Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean, along with host Ginny Gunther, after this brief station break. You can also get updates and resources online by visiting drcarolyndean.com.
Psychic radio, holistic radio, spiritual radio. This is achieveradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/achieveradio.
AchieveRadio.com.
What a beautiful day to be alive. My debt is paid and more money arrives. The fridge is full and there's plenty of ice for a fireside chat with anyone I like. What a beautiful day, good to be here, when almost everyone has disappeared. When almost everyone is waiting in line, it's good to meet you in this world of mine.
Welcome, everybody, back with Dr. Carolyn Dean live here on AchieveRadio.com. Hour 2 coming your way. So grateful that you're tuning in, getting your year kicked off with the best health information available. And Dr. Dean is getting it all together for you. I think they use the term curating. All the young kids use that, Carolyn, like you're a museum curator. But you do have the best information, and you're constantly putting yourself out there. And another thing I think that's great is that you're always checking out options. You're always looking for new things. So, I mean, I think that's just awesome.
Yeah, and what I'm working on right now, Ginny, is the Realign book. We finally got in the next Realign that's probably being shipped very soon. We've got all the methylated Bs and the other 4 methylated Bs, and the other 4 Bs are food-based. So we've got a perfect B complex that also has methionine, which is a precursor to glutathione, and taurine, which is sulfur-based, and the sulfur helps the sulfur detoxification. So we've got methyl detoxification. So, yeah, it's been awesome doing the research for this Realign book, just finding out how incredible the bees are and how they all kind of intercept and interchange and work with magnesium. Every time I look at something new, a new set of enzymes that does a certain biochemical function, I find out that magnesium is a cofactor in that biochemical function, couldn't work without it. And it's interesting, too, looking at kind of the deficiency symptoms of some of these B vitamins. They often read like magnesium deficiency, and then to come to find out that magnesium is required for the proper manifestation or activity of that B vitamin. And again, it just shows how synergistically all the parts of our complement formulas work together. I'm really quite blown away. So there.
No, very good. So there's right, absolutely. Very exciting, very exciting. And what's really even better is when you have been using the products for a while and you know that you feel great, and then you learn even more about why they do work. Because like you said, they're working at a cellular level, and not every single day you're going to be able to harness all the power and the understanding of why they're great and why you feel great. You just know that you do, and it just, I don't know, it just takes them. Like the other night we went to this dinner party, and these people had invited lovely people, and one of the gals leaned over to me, and she's, I don't know, maybe 63 or 64, Carolyn, and she said, you know, getting old is just so distressing. You just don't know if it's going to be a stroke or Alzheimer's or cancer. What's going to claim your life and take it away from you?
Oh,
I just was so dumbfounded. I didn't even know. I mean, I didn't know what to say. I just kind of blurted out, and I said, well, I'm not planning on dying, so nothing's going to take me out of here. But my gosh, you know, this is really the stress that a lot of people live under, and how great that you can just kind of wipe that off your plate, and you don't have to be running around stressed out, wondering how your body's going to fail you, because you're feeding it the exact thing that it needs to live perfectly and impeccably forever if you wanted to. I mean, just isn't that terrible?
Yeah, instead of feeding it bad stories, one of the blogs I have lined up is some crazy new study showing that people are stressing themselves out because they're worried about climate change. They've actually put money into it's just an online survey, so I don't even know how accurate you can make some of these things. Sometimes people just make up what they answer, so you cannot bet on a online survey being true. But anyway, they're saying climate change causes depression, and this is people who are just, they sit back and worry about so many things that they don't have bliss genes at all. And that's what we say the RNA drops do. They help the bliss state. And, of course, all the formulas help the structure and function of your body so that you don't have what they say here, restless nights or feelings of loneliness and lethargy. It's really sad. Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah, really, really sad. Okay, but we don't have to worry about that here. Thank goodness for Dr. Dean and for everybody who participates, because our customers also give us great feedback, and we're able to harness their experiences and share those with others, which is part of our radio show is all about, is doing that. If you have a question tonight for Dr. Dean, you can talk to her at 602-666-6027, and all you have to do is hit *5 on your keypad. *5 will raise your hand in the studio and let me know you have a question or comment, and then I will put you on the line with Dr. Dean, as did our good friend, out in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, just raised their hand, so I'm going to put her on the line with you, Carolyn, if you are ready.
Yes, there's another keto thing here. I don't want to miss it. I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
Someone who heard about the webinar wrote in even before the webinar, so it got pushed down. When I saw your upcoming webinar on the keto diet, I had to let you know how this diet has affected me in my situation as a dialyzing diabetic, so she's on dialysis. I really believe this way of eating is the most suitable and the healthiest for all diabetics, whether type 1 or type 2. If they are after optimal control through stable blood sugars, then I want to thwart future complications. She's maintained her A1C. Now this is interesting. She said, I've always maintained a plus or minus 6.7 A1C, thinking I really could not improve on that. But I allowed myself to regularly eat carbs and just shoot up for them. So that means she'd eat carbs, her blood sugar would go up, she'd shoot some insulin to bring her blood sugar down. I would use lows as an excuse to consume sweets. Not a huge habit of it, but just not consciously willing to give them up. 6 months ago, I took the plunge with the initial determination to say a firm no to all grain and sugar carbs, go on a low-carb diet. And her low-carb food, mainly berries, which is what we recommend. Within months of doing this, my A1C went from 6.7 to 5.7 down to 5.2. I'm normal. It makes diabetes management delightful to watch your sugar stay in a straight line all day long, typically in the 80s. You're so completely satiated that your cravings for the junk are gone. Anyway, there is no struggle. And then she talks about keeping her serum magnesium at a good level, being on dialysis. You really need your magnesium. She said, I never get muscle cramps or constipation. And she says, I only wish I had the foresight to eat this way 10 to 20 years ago. And that's what we hope for the people we're trying to educate here on the show with all the books and everything. Start doing it now and don't wait. So
very good. Yeah, don't wait until you're in a health crisis for sure. And, have the proper amount of energy and body function to be able to enjoy your life. Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. Okay, let's go to Philadelphia, area code 267. 267, you're on the line with Dr. Dean. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment.
Hello. I'm sorry, I don't know if that was for me, but my name is Naida. Okay. I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2011. I never did chemo or radiation. I had my breast removed, and I did all holistic treatment. My cancer has came back. The breast cancer has metastasized to my spine, to my skull, and my joints. I just got out of the hospital for 3 weeks, and they want me to do radiation on my skull and chemo on my spine, and I still do not wish to do chemo or radiation. I wanted to find out how your product works for cancer, and I was interested in purchasing it if you would think that it's a plus, if I should give it a try.
Well, and I missed your name. We talked over your name.
Naita. Naita. It's Naita. Yes.
Naita.
That's it. Naita. I'm 44.
Age 44. And when did you have the surgery?
In 2011, I had both breasts removed. And I had a lot of work done. I had a 9.5-hour surgery. I had part of my ribs removed, my lower abdominal muscles, my sentinel lobes, and 12 and a bunch of lymph nodes removed.
Well, we don't ever say that our products will treat cancer. So it's just not something that a person would do over the phone or even,
Yeah, I know how the system works.
Yeah.
I know.
But
yeah.
What we have said over and over is the total biology focus of trying to find the conflict in cancer can be very helpful for finding out why the body reacts this way, what it's reacting to. And I don't know how much you've ever listened to the program or what I say, Naida. But
someone just gave me your number today.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
What we do is, as I said, talk about the total biology. In 2 weeks, we're having the doctor we refer to for telephone consultations in total biology, Dr. Holt. He's coming on the show. And, that could be a question for him. But what I know about the total biology of breast cancer is that it relates to a person having an unsolvable conflict with, usually it's family members. The example we were given in our courses was a mother's, her child is in intensive care and could die. And a reaction to that it settles in the mind. The franticness in the mind, worry. Well, in order that the mind can be free of the worry, the body will actually put the problem into a part of the body, into an organ that they think can help solve the problem. It does not make intellectual sense, but it's kind of how the brain can work. Let me just explain. With breast cancer, the worry about the child manifests as the growth of more milk ducts in the breast in order to make milk to nurture the child. And that extra growth of tissue in the breast, if you have mammogram or whatever, then they say, oh, that's cancer. And what the total biology people say is, it can look like cancer, and then when it's treated like cancer, it can spread, etc., with the chemotherapy and surgery. I know you didn't have those, but if the worry and the stress still continues, then the conflict is still there. The mind is still trying to fix the problem. And in terms of the metastasis to different areas, then the body has developed, more conflicts. It sounds, quite convoluted. We can send you a couple of the books that we refer to that describe some of this process, but sometimes working on the conflict as well as doing the nutrition. Our protocol is just for anybody with any condition for supporting their structure and function. The other thing that I know Dr. Holt recommends is cannabis oil, and that can be very helpful. But it really, to me, when I learned about the conflict basis of disease and how the body isn't stupid, it's just trying to help, but then it creates extra cells. The originator of this system, Dr. Gerd Hammer, he's dead now, but he was a cancer doctor and a psychiatrist. His son was fatally wounded and died 3 months after a gunshot wound. And 3 months after his son died, Dr. Hammer developed testicular cancer, and his wife developed ovarian cancer. And he thought, that's kind of freaky. Why would the two organs that, create life be affected? And he developed the theory that the body was just, in his and his wife's case, it was trying to create another child to replace the one they lost. So it helped me a lot, just not be afraid of cancer. Now, heaven forbid you're in the middle of it, but you can gain some knowledge about what's going on and why this is occurring by looking at the conflict. So that's kind of what I say to people when they ask about cancer. The products can help your structure and function of your body. Cannabis oil, Dr. Holt. That's what
I do have cannabis oil, and I do get what you're saying, because when I was first diagnosed, I went to a doctor in Chinatown, and first thing he said to me was, "You're angry, you're sad, you have stress, you have anxiety, you have to let it go in order to heal." And I told him at that time, I said no, because it was so much pain from my parents that I was enduring that I refused to let it go. And he said, "Well, then you're going to die." So I was like, okay, I'll let it go. He gave me some herbs, and I've been, I've been living this herbal vegan lifestyle since 2011. So when the cancer came back, I didn't understand. I was like, maybe it's something I'm holding on to, and it was. It was the anger with my father. I let go with my mother, but I kept the anger with my father. I didn't even really realize until later. But yeah, it's back, and it's back full force. And when I went to the doctors 4 weeks ago, I could barely walk at that time. And I went there for palliative care, for pain management, and I wound up getting worse. So I'm like, let me get out of this hospital, back to my herbs, so I can get myself back together. So right now I'm trying to detox morphine and steroids out my system, and get back together so that I can function, so that I can walk, while I work on trying to get rid of this cancer.
Yeah,
it's possible.
We'll give you the information on Dr. Holt and just the books.
Okay.
Not that you have to read them, just so you know.
No, I'm looking forward to finding out more. Please, I am. I don't know if you heard of Gary Knoll.
Sure.
Gary Knoll reached out to me, and I started his protocol, which is the IVC, the high doses of vitamin C.
Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah.
Right. I started that protocol, and I felt great. I felt great, but I still need a little bit more.
Yeah. The IVC, intravenous vitamin C people, they're actually considering that high-dose magnesium, and in the form that I have it, the Remag, it's 100% absorbed. They think the high-dose magnesium could be even better, or at least work synergistically with the IV vitamin C. So that's interesting. So,
okay.
Nayaka, email support@rnareset.com, and Ginny will send you Dr. Holt's information and the information that we have about
RNA.
Okay?
Is that RNA?
Yeah.
Reset.
Reset.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
.com. I got you. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for calling in, and keep us posted.
Sure.
Okay?
Thank you. I will.
Okay,
Thank you. RNA Reset. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, excellent. Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. Thank you for calling, Naita. I'll look for your email. And again, 602-666-6027. If you want to talk to Dr. Dean tonight, you've got to hit *5 on your keypad to raise your hand here in the studio and let me know you have a question or comment, and then I'll put you right on the phone with her. So again, *5 will raise your hand and let me know you want to chitty-chat. Let's see, Carolyn. Questions coming in on the chat line. Linda, I'm taking Remag and Remite. What would raise my blood pressure?
That's not a question I can answer.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, I don't know what the question is.
Okay. Well, I think she's saying if I'm taking Remag and Remite, how could my blood pressure possibly go up? Like it's the antidote to all blood pressure situations. So, Linda, maybe you could rephrase your question so that Dr. Dean could understand it a little more clearly.
Yeah.
And also just tell us how much Remag and Remite you're taking, because sometimes people are only taking a quarter teaspoon, and that's not going to be enough either. Okay, very.
And how long you've been on it as well, and if what stresses in your life or what magnesium depletion triggers are you going through. So there's a lot there.
Okay, very
ahead.
good. Excellent. Okay. And also, Rona types in from Massachusetts and says, isn't N-acetylcysteine also an important precursor to glutathione? Would you recommend taking this with the Realign?
I don't think you need both. I mean, this is where we start getting into, take more and more, higher and higher. Just take consistent. So when you look at N-acetylcysteine, yeah, that's in the pathways to I think it's in the Krebs cycle pathway, and everybody, oh, yes, let's take that. I've used it in the past. I've had people who've told me they've used it. I've never heard anyone say, yeah, I took NAC and I felt so much better. I've never heard that. So why would I recommend it? We look for results, and we get them, thank goodness, with the Complement formulas.
Question? Yep. I mean, because, there's a lot of things that there's so many products out there, Carolyn. Goodness gracious.
Right.
Oh, my
and
gosh.
I think just like with medications, actually, there's way too many products to try to treat symptoms that are really magnesium deficiency that have not been properly treated because people aren't using the right magnesium. They'll use a magnesium that is not well absorbed, and then they'll say, well, magnesium doesn't work. I mean, remember, I'll go to the blog, not a blog, it reads like a blog, but it's this wonderful expanded testimonial from customers starting about 15 years ago, having heavy periods, should put on a pain medication, Vioxx, that affects the heart, and then had a hysterectomy, found out she had fibroids, so she had a hysterectomy, just a lot of symptoms after that, entered menopause, a lot more symptoms that she said were probably magnesium deficiency, and then she was taking a magnesium glycinate. Finally read my book, Magnesium Miracle, was using 600 milligrams magnesium glycinate throughout the day, and had an easing of several symptoms, but then continued to research, found out the extra vitamin D and calcium she was taking was probably depleting any magnesium that she was taking. And then she thanks me for my blog. So now she's switched to Remag, and she says, wow. Although I want to give Remag the credit for most of it, I have to say that magnesium glycinate got me on the road. Unfortunately, I was having to take 8 to 10 capsules a day. I've been on Remag now for 2 weeks, and again, wow, I've noticed even better and quicker improvements. The stuff is liquid gold to me. I've finally been able to resume my walks as of yesterday after giving it up back in October. My body was shutting down. The structure and function of her body was just deteriorating. I was starting to have the feeling like I was going to have more vertigo symptoms. She had those before. I've always taken care of myself. I'm not on any prescription medications. I've always exercised. I'm at a healthy weight, so all of this just freaked me out. So she said, thank you for all you do, Dr. Dean, and continue to do to help us via your blogs and radio shows. And she's passing the word. So that's the story we hear from people. And why did I jump to that testimonial, Jenny? Remind me.
Well, just because we were talking about people who take so many pills or something a day, and they're chugging down like this gal was taking all these pills, and she still wasn't getting any results because functionally, the magnesium deficiency was not being addressed. She wasn't absorbing it, and when you get the proper amount of magnesium in your body, everything works better.
Yes, with the proper amount of the proper magnesium, and that's what we keep trying to get across to people. And they, the people who sort of poo-poo it, they just say, well, you're just trying to sell something, and they cut themselves off from even trying something that really could change their lives. But, enough people are catching on. Okay, so Ginny, I didn't even go into my blogs this week, and actually it looks like the cold and flu strategy blog went out. I think the email of the fragility syndrome went out, but it's not on the website. So I'll just talk about colds and flus. And actually, little Sarah got in touch because she said she's had her first fever in years, and it made her realize how wonderful the complement formulas are because she never gets sick. And she wondered how I treat fever. And I looked in the cold flu strategies on the drcarolyndean.com website. It's got a lot of good information there to avoid the symptoms of the flu, but I don't talk about fever. I do have a blog, though, if you type in fever in my name, where I talk about coffee enemas helping to reduce fever, or, of course, Epsom salts baths, or just going on a kind of a yeast detox diet to stop the mucus. But, as Sarah said, you want a little bit of fever to burn off a virus. If you're having a cold or flu, a little bit of fever is okay. But it's a lot of fluids, your chicken soup, your basics for treating colds and flus that'll help a fever as well. So that's my cold and flu blog.
Okay, very good. Excellent, babe. Excellent. Wonderful. Okay, and let's also ask about this, Dr. Oh, look at Linda typed in. That was so sweet. Linda, she's the one who asked about the blood pressure. She said, I'm on a whole food bone broth diet. Feeling great on Remag protocol, normal blood pressure. When I added Remag, my blood pressure rose 30 points. Half a teaspoon Remag a day, quarter teaspoon of Remag.
Okay.
Your Remag changed my 65-year-old life. I feel 20 again. Thank you.
So when she added both of the blood pressure went up, or just the Remag?
It seems like just the Remag. I'll read it. She said, when I added Remag, my blood pressure rose 30 points.
Well, stop the Remag. That's all you do.
Okay.
We don't know why. It can be the iodine. The RDA of iodine is in Remag. Some people have reactions to the iodine if they've taken high dose of iodine in the past. But something like that, someone who's already kind of looking at their whole food, and someone who makes bone broth is really into their health, so she's going to be observant. So I cut it back and kind of experiment with it maybe in the future, just starting a few drops of it, because people do need their iodine, but if she's developed some sort of reaction to it, that would be the thing that might shift. But have we heard of that before, Ginny? Remag causing a blood pressure jump? And
I have not. No, I have not. Otherwise, I would definitely be, like, oh, it's probably the Remag. No, I haven't heard that.
Right.
So there may be some other factor.
Yes, and the next thing is it systolic or diastolic? Is it both? What else was going on? The blood pressure is someone who at home you're having trouble controlling something outside the home. So it's like the roads outside your home, the road or the route to where your problem is gets congested, and that's reflected in your blood vessels, which get tight and then create a blood pressure. Isn't that fun?
Very fun. Excellent. Excellent. And what about, and she said, yes, thank you. Your remake changed my 65-year-old life. I feel 20 again. Thank you. Thank you. Just use sea salt.
Okay, good.
Are we good?
Yeah.
Okay, very
questions
good.
Like, that type of impertinent question is very important. We learn a lot. We have no problem hearing where our some people may wonder if the formulas cause a problem. There's usually a reason, and we like to sort it out. So thank you for letting us share that question with you.
Absolutely wonderful. Okay, 602-666-6027 is the number to call if you have a question or comment for Dr. Dean tonight. You've got to hit *5 on your phone. *5 is going to raise your hand in the studio and let me know that you've got a question or comment, and we'll put you on the line with Dr. Dean. Otherwise, we will just continue to chat among ourselves and with the people typing in on the chat line. Although I think they're all caught up, Carolyn. Do we have anything we want to talk about?
I have mailbag. Don't worry.
Okay, wonderful. All right, don't worry. Here we go with the mailbag.
Don't worry. Testimonial. I'm a firm believer in the power of your Remag. Back in November 2016, I started taking it, increasing gradually to reach 2 to 2.5 teaspoons per day. Also introduced half teaspoon of Remite with sea salt. The results are amazing. I have not had a cold sore since I started taking Remag compared to having one every month or two prior to Remag. My AFib is a thing of the past. I go to sleep much more quickly. And if I wake up during the night, there's never a problem getting back to sleep. In the past, sleep was a struggle. My restless calves are no longer restless. My cravings for sugar are gone. My bad back has improved greatly. I thank you with all my heart for your hard work and dedication. You've made a huge positive change in my health. And this is from a gentleman. So that's your structure and function right there, folks. This is, we're not treating diseases. There's the nutrient depletion causing problems with structure and function, and those were alleviated with nutrients. Customer of ours in India sends a couple of testimonials. A 51-year-old male friend of hers was having high anxiety and insomnia, was severely deprived of good sleep, mildly diabetic and hypertense too. On her advice, he started taking Remag. Okay, and she continues. I followed him up after 2 weeks just to check. He thanked me and shared after many years he slept from 10 p.m. and woke in the morning at 9 a.m. His anxiety was reduced, his blood pressure under control, feeling fresh from morning to evening. He has now taken up advocating and campaigning with ailing friends and relatives. He often argues with doctors why they do not recommend such simple measures and why they don't want to help patients, instead giving them anti-anxiety drugs, antidepressants, and sleeping pills. Then following testimonial from our same customer. Recently, my friend, a woman aged 52 in Thailand, had difficulty in getting up in the morning, severe pain in lower back, elbow, knuckles, and muscle pain in legs. She had a marriage coming up. She was more anxious and worried how she would deal with arrangements for the wedding. She had consulted an orthopedic who had advised her to do an MRI and an HLA-B27 test, which was positive. That's for arthritis. And this customer, who's a doctor, said, I realized she may have the onset of ankylosing spondylitis or reactive arthritis. I immediately recommended her start Remag and Remite. She ordered one set and started drinking it every day. After 7 to 8 days, she called me overflowing with joy. Her pain had subsided almost 90%. Her mobility in the morning improved, cramps vanished, freshness returned. She asked her husband to start, although he is not facing any issues. And then she's recommending it to everybody she bumps into. So I have more testimonials, but I'll stop there and see if Ginny needs me.
No, you may continue with, let the testimonials continue.
Okay,
Nope.
Let them flow. Oh, there was a note.
I do have a phone call. Yep, there was a phone call. Okay, hold on. Let me get this person. Let me get this person. Here we go. Okay, I just took your phone off mute because you're coming in as anonymous. Are you there?
Yes, it's Lisa, anonymous from China.
Hi. That's what I thought it was you. Hi, sweetheart.
Hi. It's so good to hear you live and to be able to interact. Most of the times I have to listen to the cast afterwards, so today was a good day. But I had a question about the last letter that you read that to me sounded like the woman was writing in very positive, saying that she was 65 and felt 20. And there was also the blip about her blood pressure rising. And my question was, could that possibly have been that she had low blood pressure and the rise in blood pressure was actually giving her energy? Anyway, I wanted to, it sounded like a positive letter to me, yet the answer, the reply was not.
Right, and we asked her to tell us the blood pressure because oftentimes I don't get enough information and I have to sort of dance around. But, yeah, that's a good point, Lisa.
Okay, great.
And so we'll get Linda to type in. Hold on, Lisa. Let me just get Linda to type back and say, Linda, tell us what your blood pressure is. Now you've got everybody's talking about you, Linda. Tell us what your blood pressure is. Okay, go ahead, you guys.
Again, it just sounded so positive that she had energy, and I can understand if you have low blood pressure, right? My assumption is you would not have energy.
Right. It's true. But, when people, sometimes things happen, and the last thing you started or did or whatever, you wonder, did that cause it? And it may not have, but I'm not going to defend the Remite. I'm just going to say, well, stop it and then experiment later and see what you find out. We never really hear too much negative about Remite, except sometimes people who are sensitive to iodine. So, we just are careful to recognize the possibility. And I often think of the time when one of my young patients, he was like 10 or 11, and his mother started making carrot juice for him and squeezing fresh carrot juice, and he started developing actual migraine headaches from the carrot juice. And we tracked it down pretty quickly, but one would think that carrot juice was pretty healthy, but for him it wasn't. Everybody's so different.
Yeah. I found that letter very intriguing in the response. But I have another question for you, if that's okay. And
sure.
You always talk about total biology, and I am quite fascinated by it. And I always try to go and after I hear it, find, is there a book or is there a course or how do you, I looked up the name Total Biology, and I believe it's Claude Sabat.
Yes, and I don't even know if he's alive anymore. He's a French doctor. He was developing total biology around the same time as Gert Hammer was developing German New Medicine. And I learned total biology from someone who trained with Sabat in France, and it was because this doctor's French-Canadian, so the Canadians got the benefit of learning about total biology, and this is only within the last 10 years we began to learn about it. And the books, Ginny can send you the names, but there hasn't really been much written about them, but the closest are books, 3 books. One is called Biogenealogy, Decoding the Psychic Roots of Illness. So it's Biogenealogy by Patrick Obissier, Obissier. Gabor Mate, M-A-T-E, writes When the Body Says No. And Andreas Moritz writes a book called Cancer is Not a Disease, It's a Survival Mechanism. So those books show how the physical body can be developing symptoms in order to express what psychically is going on in our world, and we just don't get the message in time.
Okay. Yeah, I'm so fascinated by it. And I called in one time because, I'm such an advocate of all of your supplements, and I take everything. And I called in because my nails are just crazily, they're getting worse and worse. And you told me that it could be anger. Anger manifests through the nails. And I definitely have, I definitely can have anger issues, but I thought I had it under control, or I thought I, at least was aware of it and, didn't feel like I let it get the best of me. But it's funny how my nails still are just, I'm beside myself that I can't figure it out. So
right.
Well,
what might be helpful, Lisa, is just to have a consultation with Dr. Holt, because sometimes just having a little input, a little insight, it can really cut through all the, the questions. And, you'll see in 2 weeks when Dr. Holt's on the show how he goes about his input with people. I think a lot of people who are listening have probably spent a bit of time with him, and I just like to share his wisdom. And nails, there's nails to catch the prey or to chase the enemy. There are lots of things about nails that you could look at.
Okay, great. Well, I'm looking forward to it. And again, thank you always for everything. I keep learning from you. It's just so wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you, and our best to Christina, too. Take care.
Yes, Happy New Year, everyone.
Thanks, Lisa. See you in Maui soon.
I hope so, yes.
Okay, aloha.
Aloha.
Okay. Carolyn Linda did type back in, and also Lisa, and said, hi, my blood pressure is 158/90, sometimes lower.
So that's with the increase. That's increased. It used to be 30 below. I need the before and the after.
Okay, very good. All right.
Yeah. And she's listening.
Yeah.
Hi, Linda.
Hi, Linda. You could call in, too, 602-666-6027. Sometimes it's easier. But if you want to just in quick, that's fine. Maybe you're at work or something. Then you can still do that, and just know we'll get the information to Dr. Dean. So, again, before and after blood pressure. Okay, Shane types in, hi, Dr. Dean. I've been on your protocol for about a year. It's a miracle worker. Chronic, really bad golfer and tennis elbow is gone. Chronic headaches are 95% gone. Gums, plantar fasciitis, athlete's foot. I smell better. I could go on and on. With your shake recommendations, can you please name some of the brands you use for spirulina, wheatgrass, and so on? The devil's in the details.
Yes, a green powder I recommend. I get my powdered greens from Frontier Herbs. And VitaCost was carrying them for a while, so either Frontier Herbs. But, I'm not doing much of that green stuff anymore because my my farmer delivers incredible greens to me every week. So I'm eating all my greens instead of needing to put them in a powder. So Frontier Herb, I think that's what they're called. Let me look up. Herbs. And they have organic. Yeah, Frontier Herbs. Amazon carries them. frontiercoop.com. So there. So thanks, Shane. That's great. Glad you're feeling awesome and want to continue and feel even better.
What do you think about wheatgrass, Carolyn? I've heard it's not optimal because people don't eat grass, but I don't know. That's just what I've heard. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a good point, but, the thing about wheatgrass that you have to be concerned about actually is if it gets moldy before it's harvested. So yeah, wheatgrass can be a problem. But at a certain point, I was using a frozen wheatgrass that they said was grown outdoors without being grown indoors in big trays. The big trays can either the thick paper or the cloth that they use to soak the water and grow the seeds on, heaven forbid, can get moldy. But if wheatgrass is grown outside, they do this. There's a Canadian company that does it. They harvest it, they flash freeze it. Or no, they squeeze it and flash freeze it. But, I kind of stepped away from all those things because the Complete Mint formulas really cover me. Complete Mint formulas and my organic food. So I eat all year round organic food, and if you can't, then you would get greens. But when you get your wheatgrass, really sniff that bag and make sure it doesn't seem moldy. Good point, Ginny. Thanks for making everybody afraid of their wheatgrass now.
No, they're not afraid. No, because you know how many times we have to tell people stuff? About 1 million. So me saying one thing about wheatgrass isn't going to do anything because people are determined to do what they're going to do. But no, I did hear that about wheatgrass. That's why I always have to run everything by you because you are the voice of reason, Carolyn, and you know what's going on. That's right.
And the reason here is, let me just finish that. The reason here is don't worry about this and that and other little bits and pieces. Our bodies really can handle a lot. And because we're distrustful of our bodies or whatever, then we start getting into this being scared and paranoid and worried and having to avoid everything. But just accept everything. Just bless everything and say, I'm perfectly happy and fine where I am and ready for more. That's where we want people to be.
Right. Absolutely. 100%. Okay, very good. Let's see. So, Shane, let me know if that answered your question if Dr. Dean answered your question that way. Okay, so let me see. All right, here's what Linda says. It was 120 over 75, then 158 over 90. I'll be so much more prepared next time. Thank you so much. Aloha.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Okay, so that the top one jumped more. I'd have to know a lot more about the stress and everything. But if Linda feels it's the remite, then stop it. If stopping the remite, the blood pressure's still up, then it wasn't the remite. And then you look at the stress factors, etc., that we talked about.
Okay, very good. Now, let me also just say that, so thank you, Linda, for that. That was wonderful. Kathy typed in and set a link to some of Dr. Raynaud's information, but I haven't vetted it out yet. So if it's good stuff, I'll send it to you, Lisa. I'm not saying Kathy's sending bad stuff. I just have to look through that. And then Shane says, what about maca powder? Maca powder?
Yeah, I did. I had maca powder listed at one point. It's a herb plant that I think it's the root of a plant that they say can help balance hormones. So that's still fine in my books, but I don't use it. I don't I don't use anything except my formulas and what I talk about in the Dr. Dean supplement recommendations. I've really just toned right down.
Okay, wonderful, yes. And this is very cute, Carolyn, what Kathy sent us. It's a link. I'll have to send it to you, or we'll get it off the chat line here. It's a link to Dr. David Holt and Dr. Raynaud working together.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, very, very, in Long Beach, California in 2008.
Very
yeah,
good.
That's very sweet. No, Dr. Holt, he's a rock star. We love him. Okay, and then, so thank you, Kathy, for sharing that. That was sweet. And then Kathy also typed in and said, I grew wheatgrass in small containers indoors, and I juiced it. I didn't find a benefit to it.
Yeah. Yeah, and when you hear stories where those things or anything really, really helps, it implies to me that the person was so terribly deficient that anything would help them. And I know that's a vast generalization, but that's how I explain, quick testimonials. We get testimonials, but we get people with sustained testimonials. I've been taking it for a year, and I feel this, and this. So it just reinforces what we say. It takes time. You'll feel better pretty quickly, but then to really get your structure and function optimal, to increase the storage of all your nutrients, that's going to take time. These are not drugs, and they don't just wipe out symptoms or suppress symptoms. They actually treat the structure and function of the body so that it works optimally.
Yep, very good. Shane says, I've had bad luck with organic food. It does not seem to be as organic as advertised. The powders are cheap and easy, and the ones I got said USDA organic. I have not heard you talk about that part of your protocol. Thank you for the update. No. You're welcome, Shane.
Right. I think what I end up doing, Shane, is talking about how the soil is so depleted and it's hard to get everything from your food. And if I like the way, Kathy said, well, I did wheatgrass. It didn't make me feel any different. Shane's saying, well, organic food didn't really make me feel that different. So you have to try these things and see how it makes you feel. You only should be taking things that make you feel good. And when I realized that our complement formulas make everybody feel good, then that's my focus. I can't just say to people, yeah, eat organic and everything will be fine, because I remember a couple of years ago, I think the U.S. Department of Agriculture or agriculture in general tried to get new rulings on what they could call organic, and they wanted to use sewage and all manner of crap. And it became very difficult. I used to recommend CSAs, community-supported agriculture, a lot. And now here in Maui, what I do is do all my, kind of charitable donations to my local farmer so that he can do the best he can, and I can benefit from it.
Yeah, very good. Excellent. Yeah, and that's a biodynamic farm, which is very interesting in and of itself, the whole idea of biodynamic farming. Yeah. Oh, very good.
Hey,
well,
Ginny,
it's a complicated world. Oh, go ahead,
I have a question, Ginny. I want him to hear this. Remember Frank? He had one of the best attendance records.
Frank who?
A guy on the chat line, and he would comment on everything, give suggestions. He disappeared a couple of months ago. Do you know what happened? Did you ever hear from him, Ginny?
Well, he did work as my secretary for several weeks, and then I imagine that he probably got feeling so good on the complement formulas that he took off to Bora Bora, and he's, shacked up with some little hot tamale over there. I don't know where he went, Bob, but I'm sure he's around. Maybe he's lurking.
Yeah, that's why I want him to hear this. He should report back to Bob, please.
Bob remembers Frank.
Okay, very good. Very good. Well, yes, Frank. Frank's wonderful. We have so many wonderful people who listen to the show on a regular basis, and they always chime in. They tune in to Dr. Dean's webinars, and then they make, comments, and they're like, here I am. And I'm like, oh, my gosh, I haven't talked to you in months. And there they are, so they're around. Frank might not be here, but he'll probably hear the archive, and then he'll type in and say, hey, here I am, Bob. You can email good. Bob. Anybody who'd like to talk to Bob can email Bob at ion@howionic.com. So, Frank,
or you can talk to me in person on Saturday. Call me on Saturday. Carolyn's there, too. It's a whole different Carolyn on Saturday.
Very good. Yes. The Wyndham Lewis Carolyn is there.
Yeah, I'm having fun. Always, perfectly happy where I am and ready for more.
And I provide the more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great show, Jenny. Wonderful show. I still have testimonials, but we can drag them over. Everybody's been wonderful. Great calls. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, everybody, for participating. We'll be back next week with more great information. And, again, mark your calendar for sure. The first Monday in February 5th, is when Dr. David Holt will be with us. And he is a rock star, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be difficult to harness him in, Carolyn, but we will each grab one end of the tether and see what we can do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we'll focus on questions if people just want to phone up and say what problem they have and what does he think about it. We'll learn a lot. Thanks, Jenny. Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Jenny.
Thank you, Bill. Thanks, everybody. Wonderful. Have a great night, guys. Bye.
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 You've been listening to Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. Till next time, so long, and thanks for all the fish.
AchieveRadio.com.
Psychic radio, holistic radio, spiritual radio. This is AchieveRadio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/AchieveRadio.